They are living like they're single. Hello everyone, my name is T Hunter. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you so much for coming back. So I thought I would do something a little bit different today. In addition to my reaction, I will be doing my makeup. So let's get started. All right, so today I wanted to talk about Married at First Sight, but focus on two of the wives, Morgan and Alexis. So the reason why I wanted to focus on them is because I feel like these two women, they have quite a few similarities. Not saying that they're one and the same, but their behavior in terms of how they interact with their husbands, especially when they are frustrated, it's screaming, either I don't want to be married to you, or maybe I wasn't ready for marriage at all. All right, so in the beginning of this particular season, season 15, on the honeymoon, I noticed that, the women were having conversations about, how the marriage is going so far. The husbands were on like one side of the boat. I guess they were taking like an afternoon sail, what have you. And the wives were coupled together on another side of the boat. So I noticed that one of the wives, Stasha, had mentioned that she never knew who her father was and therefore did not have a relationship with him. And then Alexis said, well, I knew who my father was, but I didn't have a relationship with him. And Morgan had mentioned that she also had a strained relationship with her father based on negative experiences that they had in the past. So, said all that to say, Morgan and Alexis, they are pretty good examples of why it is important for kids to have both of their parents. Whether the parents are married, divorced, never married, just don't want to fool with each other, make sure that your child has a relationship with both parents. It's important because based on how these women are treating their husbands, yikes. I wonder if having a more positive relationship with their fathers might have made a difference in terms of how they approach, their husbands. We know that Alexis had mentioned that she's more of a tomboy, has quite a few male friends. In my opinion, it's different when you have a positive relationship with a father figure, be it your own or someone else, versus when you just have a lot of guy friends, because those are your peers, versus having a relationship with a father figure. So that's the first important relationship that a woman has with a man prior to her romantic relationships. Okay, I'm rambling. Let me grab my notes so that I'll stop doing that. Okay, so at the reception on the wedding day for Justin and Alexis, as they are getting to know each other during their first dance, Justin discloses that he is celibate and has been celibate for the past 18 months. And Alexis, she looked pretty surprised, but not for the reasons that I was expecting. So right now, pop culture, sometimes we will see messages around, play the field. For men, sow your royal oats. For women, hey, be liberated and free, with whatever it is that you want to do as far as your relationships. So to hear Justin say, I just didn't want to, keep having relationships where I get physical with people, and it's not leading to, the serious, long, life-lasting commitment that I want, which would be marriage. So the first thing Alexis does, I don't even know if she really got a second to process it. She hollers over to her friends, "He's celibate, y'all." And I thought, okay, so we're setting the standard right now. Anything that is intimate, that should be a personal detail, that should be held between the spouses. I did not get the impression that Alexis would be able to hold intimate details such as her husband's celibacy, between the two of them. And that made me nervous, because if you could blurt that out on the first day of meeting your husband, you're already telling his business, what's going to stop you from doing it later on in the season? What's going to stop you from exposing things that should have been held between you and your spouse? Another thing that I noticed about Alexis, she had mentioned, hey, as far as relationships are concerned, I have been engaged. Well, not engaged. I have had 3 proposals, never accepted them. And there were times during the season where she mentioned the moment that she starts to get a little bit afraid in her, relationships, as far as where the commitment is going, if things are looking like they're going to take a more serious turn, that she tends to run. And, she's even made jokes like, yeah, track star, I get out of there. And I thought, well, if the goal is to stay married, it's a little disheartening to hear her say like, oh, well, you know how I am, my past relationships, if I didn't like something, if I got uncomfortable, I would just run. In the times that she has conversations with Justin around her history, it feels almost like a warning. And that's a very scary place to be in when it comes to a marriage, a serious commitment, a relationship that you're hoping, to build for years and years to come. If your partner is telling you, well, I'm a runner, I'm a track star. So are you implying that you will run from them? Because it's different to say, I have a history of running, don't want to do that anymore. So if you notice that I am going into fight or flight mode, it's okay for you to call it out. Call me to the carpet. Hey, it looks like you are going back towards, the running behavior that you mentioned you didn't want to do anymore. How can I help? What can I do? Is there anything that you need from me specifically to feel comfortable to stay with me in this moment? Because in the past, you've made it very clear that you tend to run when certain triggers come up. Another question that I had, what I would want to approach with curiosity is, how does Alexis really feel about Justin? Does she really dislike him, as a person, or does she simply dislike how he handles conflict? Does she dislike his communication style, which at times can come across as evasive, and that makes her uncomfortable because it's like, hey, if you're not being 100% honest with me, what are you hiding? Like, I want to know, do you just not like him as a person, or are there just certain things, behaviors of his that you're not a fan of? And the reason I ask that is because when you don't trust, don't respect, don't even have a simple level of liking a person, your behavior is definitely going to reveal that. And I wonder, is that the reason why? Like, if she truly does not like Justin, if in her mind she's thinking, you know what, I didn't like you when I matched with you on this dating app, I don't really like you now, I'm not thinking that I can grow to like you because you're just not my type. Is that the reason why she broke Justin's trust by going back to Morgan and telling Morgan, hey, Ben has still been confiding in Justin, and here are all the terrible things he's saying about you? Did you really think that that was going to help their marriage? Was that really going to serve Morgan well? In my opinion, it comes across as, well, Justin, our marriage isn't working out so well, so I'm miserable. Misery loves company. So since you and Ben are becoming closer and you guys are venting to each other and relying on each other for support, and I know that Morgan doesn't like that, I'm going to go back and tell Morgan all of the things that Ben has been telling you. So breaking trust, with Justin, and then also sabotaging one of his close friendships. Justin said on one of the after party episodes, he and Ben were close before the fiasco around Alexis telling Morgan, hey, this is what Ben has been saying. And the reason I think that is because they married women who have similar personalities. Or at least I would say they behave in ways that are not too far off from each other when they are upset, when they feel that, they have been betrayed, or they're feeling uncomfortable, feeling alone, feeling isolated. So then instead of coming right out and saying, this is really tough for me, I'm having a difficult day, I really want this marriage to work, let's talk about it, let's work through it, because in the past I tend to run. Now they're just, coming full throttle, coming in hot, and the husbands have no chance. There's no forgiveness, there's very little grace, and I think that is why Justin and Ben have definitely started to confide in each other and started to build a pretty close friendship, because they're going through the same thing. Not just the married at first sight experience, but also in how they're being treated by their wives. All right, so moving on, Morgan. Her heated interactions with Ben, in my opinion, are good illustrations of this concept that I learned while in graduate school. It's called right script, wrong players. So we have seen Morgan, discuss how her relationship with her father has pretty much disintegrated over time. They are not close anymore. She had, mentioned that there has been a history of her seeking his approval, never being able to attain it. So I don't know if he was more I'm just going to keep moving the goalpost, and no matter what you do, you'll never be able to please me. You'll never be able to win my approval. You'll never be able to win my love. I don't know if he was that type of father. And I also don't know the context of their relationship. Like, how was Morgan interacting with her father when she was angry, when she was sad, when she was overwhelmed, when she was feeling like she wasn't good enough? Like, how did she convey that to her dad? Did she convey it in a way where he became defensive and they just couldn't hear each other? They couldn't connect because maybe he thought she wasn't respectful? We don't know. We don't have enough time in this reality series to air all of that in every episode, to really get down and dirty and see the bigger picture of things. So that's just something that I would definitely want to know. What is it about your relationship with your father, Morgan, and how you two interacted, how you two connected or failed to connect, that now your marriage with Ben seems to be bringing up all of these memories from the past of your father, not approving you, maybe not speaking well of you, not affirming you, not letting you know that you are good enough simply because you're his. Because Morgan even said, I wanted a man, I wanted a husband who would, be proud of me. Like, man, like, that's my wife. And that's what made me realize that that's why the degree is so important to her, because that's a tangible thing that she can point to and say, well, you might not think that I'm good enough, but look at what I accomplished as far as my degree is concerned. Look at what I've accomplished as far as this career that I'm establishing and I'm thriving in as a nurse. So it's just really disheartening to see that Morgan misrepresented where she was as far as school is concerned. I wonder what, well, I shouldn't even say I wonder. It appears to me that being able to say, I'm done with school and I have this great career, that was really important to her. So for her to not be done with the degree, even though she's only one course shy of attaining it, that meant a lot to her. And she did not want that information, shared with anybody else, because it's important to her that she presents as someone who's got her stuff together. Because there was a time when she didn't like herself. And so seeing that she could accomplish great things in her career, accomplish great things as far as being able to take great care of herself, not only, financially, but also taking better care of herself as far as her health was concerned so that she could be in, better shape. That was something that she had wanted and she has achieved. So it's hard to say, yeah, I got it all together, but there's this one area in my life that is lacking. There's this one area that I have yet to, reach fulfillment in. So, yeah, we all have those soft spots. We all have those areas of vulnerability that we don't want exposed to just any and everyone. So, I can understand that. Is it the right thing to do? No, because the dishonesty around the degree is what started this distrust and breakdown in Ben and Morgan's marriage. Like, I wonder what would have happened if she simply said, I am a nurse and I am one course shy of earning my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. Ben might have had an idea of, I want to marry someone who's already done with school and who, doesn't have student loans. But one course shy from finishing the bachelor's degree is very far from, well, I still have to finish my associates and then my bachelor's, and then I think I might want a master's, So in my opinion, if my husband were to say, hey, I'm one course shy of completing, whatever degree it is that I want to have, that's going to really help me level up in my career. That is awesome that you've made it this far. Congratulations in advance, because I believe that you're going to take this all the way. Because if you weren't serious about it, I don't think you'd be here. And I wonder if she had just been honest about the degree, like maybe Ben would have surprised her. And maybe he would have presented in such a way that communicated to her, I am proud of you as my wife. Because that's what she really wanted. But when you lie, and then you confuse people around who you really are, it's not abnormal for them to then have questions. It's not abnormal for them to possibly seek support from someone else who they may trust more than you. Like, hey, am I overreacting? Am I tripping? Or is this actually a big deal that this person did not tell me the truth about something that I believe to be important? So I know during the season, Morgan had said, in response to like Ben's question about the relationship with her father and the challenges that she overcame with him, have you healed from that? And she said, oh yeah, I healed from it when I cut him off. And I thought, okay, well, everybody describes healing differently. Some people will say, I will know that I'm healed when I will stop worrying so much about what other people think about me, even if that means I have to separate myself from them for a while or indefinitely. Everybody has different definitions of what they expect their healing journey to look like and what it looks like once they have arrived. Sometimes I feel like people say things like, oh, I'm healed. And once that area is tested, we find out, no, maybe you weren't exactly healed. Maybe you were just numb in that area. So for a person who goes through something as serious as, surgery, we don't expect them to go back to their, regular day programming and that they are supposed to be 100% hours after surgery. And I think when it comes to mental and emotional health, because we can't physically see the damage the way that we would be able to see the scar side of the incision, there's this assumption that, well, because enough time has passed, in our opinion, like because enough time has passed, well, you should be over this. Or sometimes we say, I should be over this. We put the pressure on ourselves. Like nobody is telling us, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 6 months, whatever the time frame is, you should be over it. Sometimes I think that when it comes to emotional scars and it comes to, not prioritizing our mental health and experiencing areas of damage that affect us emotionally, that affect us, in our mental health, sometimes there is just this assumption of, well, the worst of it, as far as like whatever that traumatic event was, it came, it went, it's over. So now you should be completely healed. You should be ready to move on. You you should have moved on within a certain time frame, and that's not always the case. When it comes to situations like these, I think that we need to extend more grace to ourselves as we are healing and not just get upset with ourselves and then in turn we lash out at other people because we're thinking, this happened so long ago, I think that I should just be further up the road. Why is that the case? Like, why is it okay? Somebody broke your heart, be it your parent, be it, you know, a friend or a romantic partner, a spouse, what have you. They broke your heart, they broke your trust, and you're just supposed to be over it. Says who? Says who? Don't get over it. Take time to actually heal from it. However long that takes. Take your time. And I really wish that, you know what, I shouldn't even say I wish. I wonder if anybody ever told Morgan that. Your relationship with your dad, it breaking down to the point where he's not even at your wedding, that sucks. And I'm sorry. I wish that that did not happen. I'm sorry that that was your experience. I can't imagine how difficult that is. Because even though Morgan was saying, you know, I wanted to give myself away, I didn't have anyone giving me away, I wanted to show you that I'm independent enough, you know, to give myself away and to do this and to do that and the other, there's a possibility that that still could have happened and her father could have still been there. Like if they had gotten to a place in their relationship where she could say, hey dad, like no offense to you, but I want to walk down the aisle by myself. I don't know. Everyone is different. Everyone has different expectations in their relationships, especially their relationships with their parents. So yeah, I just really wish that mental health wasn't so taboo in certain cultures where people are given the grace to heal at their own pace. And people are encouraged, like if someone's trying to rush you through your healing process, especially a mental health professional, maybe that is not the fit for you. Because if it took years to get to this place of damage, it's going to take some time for you to start healing. And there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So I feel like I definitely went on for a little while there. But the reason why I wanted to spend some time really talking about, you know, this idea of healing is because while she says she's healed, and in her experience, perhaps she has. I'm not in her body. I'm not in her mind. I don't know what her definition of healing was. What I do know is that when there are areas that I have not healed from, and I start to see those areas come up in my relationships with other people, there's going to be a trigger, and then I have the choice of saying, hey, that might be an area that I haven't 100% healed from, so I need to take some time to be intentional about exploring why is there still those twinges of guilt, sadness, discomfort. Like, where is that coming from? Why is that happening for me? Instead of just, well, I'm triggered. I think it's time that I go off. What I have noticed in these episodes, when Ben and Morgan are, you know, not seeing eye to eye and they're having their arguments, I just get the impression that everything that maybe she has wanted to say to her father, that's what she is delivering to Ben. And I wonder, I really want to know, like, what expectations did she have for her father? Like, when she basically told Ben, you know, things were going down in their relationship, that, you know, we're not healthy. You know, she didn't want to continue, to be exposed to whatever those things were, whatever behaviors he might have been exhibiting. And I wish I had just like one example of like what those things were. Like, what were the boundaries that she tried to set with him, where she said, if you cannot deliver A, B, and C, then I'm going to have to like set up a healthy distance between us. Because even just one example could provide more context. Like, was her father the type of man where when he was not proud of something that she did he go and expose her and her shortcomings to other people? Because if so, that would make perfect sense why why Morgan has responded the way that she has to Binh when it comes to the whole degree debacle. If she is used to, like, pretty much like being exposed as not good enough by her father because she didn't reach these certain goals and milestones, then yeah, it would make perfect sense that she's ready to pop every time that Binh says something about an area that maybe she has not achieved complete success in. It's just definitely difficult. So whatever issues that have been unresolved between Morgan and her father, now that those issues perhaps are coming up in her marriage, right script, wrong players. So in order to see a turnaround in how she interacts with Binh, maybe there needs to be a difficult conversation, or there needs to be a letter, an email, whatever form of communication she feels possible, even if it's just a journal entry where she addresses everything that still bothers her about her relationship with her father. And she takes time to process that. Ideally in therapy, and outside of the therapy space, like with trusted people, her friends, her family. In a perfect world, could have been her spouse. Because Binh said, you have daddy issues and so do I. And unfortunately, sometimes when people remind us of ourselves, and we see things that we don't like about ourselves and other people, we can then turn and, attack them. Because in a sense, you're trying to cleanse yourself of those attributes that you don't like. And it's so easy to do it with someone else because it's external, and then you can also recognize it. So while it is difficult at times for us to recognize things that we don't like about ourselves and then address them, it can be really easy to, be disparaging towards someone else because, hey, that's someone else, that's not me. I don't know how things are going to end as far as Justin and Alexis and Morgan and Binh. How, as far as their marriages are concerned. We don't know. They know, but we don't. What I will say is sometimes it can be easy for us to try to rush through a healing process, especially if whatever happened to us was exceptionally painful. It's perfectly normal to, not want to talk about certain things that stir up hurt, regret, shame, guilt. So it just goes to show that marriage is more than just the wedding ceremony. It's more than just, well, I think that I'm old enough and I think that I'm ready for marriage because of my age. Marriage is a mirror. So your partner is going to reflect back to you exactly who you are because you guys are dealing with each other every day. You guys are now doing day-to-day life with each other. So while it might be difficult for some of the spouses to recognize why they were matched together, on paper, Binh and Morgan, they do make sense. However, I'm also not a fan of matching people together simply because they have shared trauma, similar traumas. You have daddy issues, she has daddy issues. This is going to be perfect because no, it's not. Your spouse was never meant to be the replacement for your parent. That's one of the main reasons why I'm curious to know what work is Morgan doing around the pain that she has endured in her relationship with her father. Because Binh could do everything right. Binh could have her back. Binh could never consult anyone outside of their marriage, and there would still be something that he would not be doing right simply because he's not her father. And Binh was never meant to take the place of her father. So any redemption as far as the relationship between Morgan and her father, it's not going to come outside of that relationship. It's going to have to be within. So we will definitely see as time continues to unfold, whether or not she'd be willing to do that type of work, because that work it takes time, it can be painful. And one of the things that we mentioned in the informed consent portion, when therapists, psychologists, whoever, when we're starting work with a new client, part of the process is understanding. Now, before things get better, they may feel worse. And sometimes that might be the reason why some people are reluctant to go into therapy, because they know, well, I'm going to have to talk about all of these things that have happened that have caused me pain. And that's not going to be fun. Before we can really start healing, we have to address, what's broken. I don't know if that's something that Morgan has done in the past. I don't know if she's sought therapy, been open to the idea of therapy in the past, whether it was individual and then ultimately possibly even having sessions with her father present, even if it was just a couple of sessions, not couples therapy. And also, it just goes back to the cultural aspect when it comes to therapy. Every culture is not necessarily gung-ho about seeking professional help to mend whatever problems are going on in the family dynamics. There are some cultures where, they have the mantra, what happens in this house stays in this house. And unfortunately, that can just lead to so much more damage, because what you're telling people is, going out and talking to someone and possibly trying to get help, that's not okay. So the idea of seeking help, now that's bad. And that's a toxic way to think. It really is. And I know that there are levels of, protection that some cultures and families, they try to have around, family problems, family dynamics, family secrets. So I don't know if that is a factor that could have contributed to, Morgan's decisions around therapy, whether she ever sought it or not. But I think it's great that through all of this, Ben is now saying, I signed up for therapy because there are things that I need to talk about. There are things that I need to process about myself. Why do I do things the way that I do them? Why is it so important to me for people, to like me? Just using that as an example. Why is it important to me to be the best at everything that I do? And oftentimes when people take those introspective looks within, they recognize, oh, the reason why I am an overachiever is because I was only applauded when I did a good job performance-wise, not because my parents, my family, my friends, whoever just loved me because I was who I was, or because of my relationship with them. Love came when I did something, and I did something well. So I think that it is definitely a step in the right direction that Ben is saying, you know what, I signed up for therapy and I want to, get myself in order so that whatever issues I have, I don't project them onto somebody else in my relationships and then wind up by myself, because I'm projecting my ideas of you've got to be perfect. You have to perform well at all times. There's no room for error. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room for failure. You project that onto a person. We're human. We're all making mistakes. We're all learning. And we're all, capable of growth. And we're also capable of shutting down if we feel that the people we're in relationships with, nothing will ever be good enough for them. So we will definitely see how all of this pans out as far as the dynamics between Justin and Alexis and Morgan and Binh, because there are definitely there's context there. There's definitely context there as far as each one of them struggling in relationships with one parent or another. So Morgan and Alexis, strained or like minimal relationships with their fathers. Justin was raised by his brother because his brother was in a position to assist his mother with raising him when the father wasn't around. Binh, he stated that, you know, his relationship with his father was based around trying to perform in a way where his father would accept him. Always trying to win that approval, trying to win the praise, win the love. So parents, and I'm talking to myself as well, your kids need to know that you are a safe space for them. Because if you're not, they're never going to come to you with things. And whatever we do not provide to our children, they're going to seek it out in other relationships. We clearly see it playing out between Morgan and Binh, Justin and Alexis. We see it. Like I always say, we will see. And that's because only time will tell what's going to happen as far as relationships are concerned. We can have a pretty good idea in our minds of what we think someone will do or what they should do. And their decisions can totally surprise us. And that's fine, because we all have free will and we get to choose who we will and will not be in relationships with, regardless of what the people around us say or think. So this is never to come across as a judgment. This is more so my reactions, my thoughts, and, you know, just, you know, the questions that I would love to sit down and ask, you know, if I had an opportunity with, you know, Alexis, Morgan, Binh, and even Justin. This goes to show that how we treat others always speaks louder about how we treat ourselves, how we think about ourselves, and how we feel about ourselves. Alexis and Morgan are showing up in ways that let me know there are still some challenges that they have in their relationships with themselves and possibly even with their fathers and even with other people, possibly. And they're learning with stranger husbands on the fly, like what this other person's expectations of marriage are and how their partner would like to be treated and how their partner expects them to show up as a spouse. Well, this is the finished look. I think it turned out better than I expected. So let me know in the comments whether you enjoy this Get Ready With Me reaction, therapist reacts video combination. If you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a future post. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.